And we're live. Hey guys, hey everyone, welcome. Welcome. Hey. Those watching the replay, hello, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Welcome. I'm going to allow people to log on before we get started. Hey. I can't even say. Here, let me see what your name is. Let's see. This is Osman. Osman, what's up, Osman? Q Port join. What's up, Q Port? Welcome. C Dedabas. I'm so horrible reading these screen names. Who else is coming on? Hey guys. Hey. If you have followers, please share this broadcast with your followers so they can follow. Aziz, what's up, Aziz? Are you the comedian, Aziz? Probably not. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Welcome. Those of you on the web, welcome as well. But you can't engage on the web. You got to go to Periscope.tv, get the app today. Follow your boy at the number 1 Justice, the number 4 All. Follow me. I have great interviews, great content, quality. So let me see. We got. Oh, guys, Periscope is only 34 days old. So this might freeze up. I apologize. Don't trip because I'll upload it right away for replay. So anything you might have missed, you will catch. I promise. Also, guys, at the end of this broadcast, 2 lucky winners are going to win 2 prizes. First prize is you get to put your screenplay, your script, like your whole, title, logline, and whatnot, in Inktip's website. I'm sorry, Inktip's newsletter that goes out to thousands of people. That's a lot of exposure if you have a screenplay. That's awesome. It's all about whoever gives the most hearts. That's who's going to win the prize. So please tap on your screen. Give me hearts. Second prize winner is going to get a one-on-one consultation with Inktip and actually have them craft your log line for your screenplay so that you can ensure, you can up the odds of having a director request your script once you send out a query letter. Okay, hey, I don't see any hearts. I guess you guys don't want to win this contest. Don't be shy. Well, without further ado, I'm going to take it over to my man, Jared Wynn. Jared, hello, sir.
Yes.
Welcome to the Inside Truth. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thank you for being on, and happy Friday, if I didn't say it already
Happy
to you.
Friday.
Now, for those who don't know you, can you just tell us real quickly who you are and what you do over at Inktip?
Let me give you a little bit of background. I'll try to keep it to like 3-4 sentences.
Okay.
I came out of college. I started working as an intern and then a production assistant and then a development associate at a television studio. I oversaw screenwriting I shouldn't say I oversaw the screenwriting, but I was the jerk who gave the writers notes. And these were professional writers, and some of them were very experienced, and they were older, and they'd been around for a number of years, and they had credits, and some of them were up-and-comers who were really bright that the studio had discovered. And my job was to give them notes and to fact-check this stuff as it came through. We did these docudrama reenactments for A&E, Discovery, stuff like that. And I enjoyed working with these writers so much that I decided I like writing, I like development, I gave up all of my other plans and decided to work on screenwriting, which is a lot harder than being a development executive. Oh my gosh, it is so hard to learn. There's just so much to it. There's so much detail and there's so much patience and there's so much trial and error. So I got lucky when I moved down to LA. And this is one of those Hollywood stories with everything I owned in my car. And I found an apartment in North Hollywood, and I found a job. I worked in film finance briefly. And then I found a job with Inktip, which is where I wanted to be. If you're an actor, you probably want to work for some sort of a casting agency, right?
Right.
Well, Inktip is kind of like the LA 411. It's where you want to be if you're a writer. You want to have your script there so that people can see it. It's like having a calling card. It's like having a resume on IMDb. People go to Inktip to look at writers' resumes. They go to IMDb to look at writers' credits. I work at Inktip, and what I do is I oversee membership at Inktip. So my job is to vet and work with and assist producers, agents, and managers as they find material. And this is where that whole prize package comes into play. Because you see, I work with this newsletter that we send out to producers, and we give away listings for contest winners that we partner with, for example, and we put their log line in the newsletter, and producers click on those log lines and go to the scripts. And our producers search the site looking for scripts. But the nice thing about the newsletter is a lot of producers are prompted to start. That's their jumping off point. They log in from the newsletter, and that's when they start looking for material.
Uh-huh.
And as the guy who picks the log lines for the newsletter, I've had the opportunity to study and do some research. I've spoken with so many producers, agents, managers, reps, screenwriting instructors, both independent as well as in the university system, UCLA, USC, NYU, FSU, so on and so forth. And I've queried them and asked them and studied their responses, how to write a log line. And I came up with a realization a little while back that most of what they teach doesn't result in somebody, you're a producer, Justice.
Right.
So you see a log line and you're thinking two things. You're thinking, does it make sense? And is it what I'm looking for? And a lot of writers, they don't convey it very well. They don't convey the story very well, and they don't do it in an engaging way. But most writers, after a while, they get the knack for that. And then the trick is with the log line is well, if a producer is looking for a story-driven a script, like an action or a thriller, or if they're looking for a character-driven script, like a drama or a comedy, how do they read the log line and how do they respond to that? And I've had this tremendous opportunity over the course of the last few years to actually pick log lines according to their structure, what they start with, what elements of the story they convey, and actually study and see which ones get the clicks. And I found that most of what screenwriting instructors teach is very basic and is not very evidence-driven. So what I found over the years of studying this is that certain types of log lines, certain structures of log lines dramatically increase your likelihood of somebody clicking in and logging in and looking at your synopsis and downloading your script. So that's the about me.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's just let's just dive right into it. I'm a screenwriter. I've written my screenplay. I've proofread it. I've polished it. Now I'm ready to get it out to the world. What do I need to do?
You need to write a log line. You need to write the log line and a synopsis. Brevity is your best friend. You're a writer. So that means you're creative and you're a wordsmith and you're brilliant with words. And you don't want to be rote and you don't want to be generic, but you do want to follow a certain structure. Tell me about your genre.
You're asking me? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
okay. My genre, a thriller.
Thriller. Okay. Let's come up with an idea for a thriller, and we'll write a log line from it.
Oh, okay. Thriller. Let's say there's a kidnapped autistic girl, and her father is like the mayor of Baltimore. I don't know. Yeah. And he hires a detective to go find her. How's that?
Perfect. Who's the protagonist?
The protagonist would be the detective who he hires.
The detective. Okay.
Yeah.
Why was she kidnapped?
Because let's say some mobster wanted something to go his way with land development, and the mayor was his way to, I guess, muscle him to get what he wanted, let's say.
Oh, yeah, okay, coercion.
Yeah.
And the victim is an adorable little autistic girl.
Right, yes.
She's probably, let's give her some character traits. Let's make her really smart, really good at math.
Okay, kind of like Rain Man?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I know that's not original, but it's great. I mean, it works.
Right.
So the little girl has her character traits. The detective, what are his goal is to rescue her, but what is his need?
His need is to, let's say his need is to redeem himself from his past. He's in the past, he may have, I don't know, let's say he was a drug addict, and I don't know, he lost someone dear to him, so maybe now he's trying to
he lost somebody and he needs to save somebody else to prove his own worth. I'm getting verklempt just thinking about this right now. This is a good story. It's elements, we've seen it in different stories before, but this kind of story sells really well, and I'm glad that you picked thriller because I do stats and I do research. And right now, thrillers get downloaded and searched for more than any other genre. The biggest question writers ask me at Inktip, and I usually don't answer it, so this is kind of exclusive to you, my friend, and your viewers.
And my viewers.
It is thrillers, and it is thrillers by at least 35% right now, maybe 45.
Wow.
People, because you can sell thrillers. Horrors are a little bit harder to sell. They're cheaper and easier to make. Thrillers engage a broader audience. You can sell a thriller to a similar audience, but it's similar elements of that audience and other audiences. Women are the primary audience of thrillers.
I didn't know that.
There's a good reason why Lifetime makes thrillers and then stops for a while and then gives up their other experiment and goes back to thrillers. There's a reason why people keep coming back to thrillers. And by the way, there's a little trick. I'm going to give you a little trick here when you're coming up with a story idea for a thriller. What you want to do is you want to figure out who your protagonist is. And you want to put your protagonist in a situation where they have to solve a puzzle or a riddle or a crime or save somebody. Where if they fail, they become the next victim. So you don't want to just have a detective trying to save a little girl. You want to have a detective trying to save a little girl because of the personal reason he has to redeem himself. If he fails, he's going to die spiritually.
Okay.
So that's a thriller. He's between a rock and a hard place. Okay. So with our basic thriller now, what type of, would you say this is a character-driven or a story-driven script?
Can it be a hybrid, or does it have to be? I mean,
it can be a hybrid. It can be a hybrid, and we can write the logline both ways. But let's pick one way to start.
Okay, let's pick character-driven. Let's say
character-driven.
Because he's
so
haunted.
When we write a logline for a character-driven story, we're actually going to start with a character. We're going to start with a description of the character.
Okay.
So, a down-and-out alcoholic detective. We can come up with something better later. We just get something on paper and then we'll edit it later. You know how writing is. 20 seconds to get the log line down and 20 days to polish it and get it right.
I never heard that. Okay, nice.
I just made it up right now, and I hope it doesn't stick. This is the way it works for me, and other people are better writers than me. So, but okay. So he's a hard-nosed, hard-bitten, down-and-out alcoholic detective who is tasked with rescuing the mayor's kidnapped autistic daughter. Okay, so now we'll write that down and then we'll boil it down and take out a couple adjectives and shorten it, and that's the first half of our logline. And then the second half of our logline, we're going to explain what the odds are and what's up against him or what he's up against. So we're either going to describe the antagonist,
okay,
or we're going to describe his personal need and how the short, but hopefully we get his personal need in the initial description. So if we're doing a logline for a character-driven story, and somebody's looking for, say a producer's looking for a character-driven thriller, and ours is a hybrid. Well, hopefully we have a logline that outlines and details and describes the story first and foremost, but hopefully we also have one that we've spent some time on that is character-driven. It starts with a character and is ready to go. Because the producer who says he's looking for a character-driven thriller is going to respond better to something that starts with character. Let me step you back a little bit, then we'll come back to this logline.
Okay.
A number of years ago, I started a research project. I started surveying agents and managers about how to write a logline. And some really high-powered and very well-known and reputable agents gave me very brief, terse, and riddle-like answers. Very confusing, complicated answers in some cases. My favorite of them all, I wrote an article and I quoted a bunch of people, and I didn't quote everybody, but I quoted Paul Weitzman at the Preferred Artist Agency, because Paul's great. And his was the zinger that ended the article after I talked about different ways to write a logline, and then I listed other people's advice, and then I ended with his, and his said, you should have a character, a situation, a complication, and you should make it appealing. Sounds easy, right?
Right.
Okay, well, that was his description of a logline, which is great. It's that riddle. You sit there and you wonder what it is, and it isn't a formula. And as writers, we hate formulas, but boy, are they helpful. They're tools. We use formulas, we learn them, and then we set them aside when we polish and we make the story work. But it's always good to start with a formula. So I started looking at the formulas that the people were giving me, and I would randomly pick log lines from writers, and I would put them in this newsletter. And I would promote these writers. The writers get viewings on Inktip because producers log in and search for specific things. But I was promoting these writers to thousands of producers who weren't looking for their script, just to see who would take the bait. And I found a log line one time that was so brilliant. And it was a character-driven thriller. And I don't want to reveal the story because it's not mine.
Okay.
But in a nutshell, it started out, a man wakes up in a situation and then has to do something to save himself. And that's the structure. That was the formula. I boiled it down. I took out all the details that made the story unique, and I rewrote it with different characters and different situations, and it was perfect every way I went about it. So then I started writing comedy stories that way, and I started doing comedic things. And then I started finding log lines on the site that used that structure, and I found that the thrillers and the actioners got clicks. But if I had a comedy log line that followed that structure, it didn't get as many viewings.
Okay, so what? So you're saying is you figured out you shouldn't write comedies? I'm trying to understand. So you're just saying that thrillers are the way to go, or are you just saying?
No.
Oh.
No. What I did was I figured out that there's a type of log line that works for thrillers and actioners that does not work for comedies.
Okay, I follow.
So what I started doing was I took a few writers that I'd corresponded with in the past. You know, I track options and hires and writers signing with agents and managers through Inktip. So sometimes I don't normally deal with the writers, but I do when there's a success story. And we average about 4 options or hires per week right now. So there's a number of writers who've had multiple successes who know me by name. Some of them I've met in person. A couple of them I've gone out and had coffee with. I've met them at screenwriting events. These are people I know and trusted. And so I went to them and I asked for their permission. And with them, working with them one-on-one, I took their log lines and I rewrote them, or they rewrote them with my guidance and instruction. And what I found was there was a structure that worked better with comedies than it did with thrillers, and there was a structure that worked better with thrillers than with comedies. But then it didn't always work better with thrillers.
What's the structure with comedies? What is the structure?
Well, the comedy is you start with the character.
Okay.
But the comedy, believe it or not, is different from everything else because you really have to convey the two characters. You're almost always going to have a straight character and an insane character, a sane character and a nut job. And you always have to contrast the two. Every comedy, I hate to say this because so many people who do comedy will pull their hair out and scream at me for saying this, but every comedy is ultimately the odd couple.
Okay.
Every comedy, you know, it could be the odd triple, it could be the odd quadruple, it could be, you know, you've got different characters, but at least one of them has to have a worldview that is utterly insane and that conflicts with everybody else's worldview. And the conflict and the comedic conflict arises out of that. Nevertheless, start with character because it's comedy, and almost all comedies are character-driven. But here's where, and I'm sorry if I'm getting convoluted, I'll wrap this up. Here's where I really started to figure something out. Throughout my testing, I realized that it wasn't the genre that made the logline work. It was whether the story was more about the character reacting to something happening to the character. That's a story-driven story. Face Off. Guy gets his face swapped with another guy. Every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ever. These are story-driven stories. They tend to be actioners. Thrillers are more often story-driven than character-driven. The smaller, contained thrillers, if we like Lifetime, tend to be more character-driven than story-driven. But again, the focus of the story, it's either on the character or the story first. And it's both, because character is story, and story is character. But you're going to focus maybe 55% or more on one over the other. You're either throwing something at the character and the character responds, or the character initiates and does something that creates a situation to which the character has to adapt and grow. Story-driven or character-driven. If you're going to pitch a character-driven story, start with your character. If you're going to pitch a story-driven story, start with your story, and then the character's reaction to it. Make sense?
That makes total sense. I like that. So it's like an algorithm almost, in a sense. You know,
Almost.
There is structure because every producer is used to seeing a log line a certain way. I know if I see a log line a certain way, that makes sense, I'll read the synopsis. And if that makes sense, I'll ask for the script, you know?
Bingo!
Yeah.
If it makes sense, right?
If it makes sense, yes. But if it's a bad log line, I won't even read. I won't even go any further, probably. I promise. Because if they can't write a log line that will engage me, compel me, let's say, then they probably can't do it in 99 pages either. So I pass. I'm sure there's some good scripts that I have not read because it was a horrible log line and synopsis, probably. I'm sure that's maybe a certain percentile. I'm not sure what that might be. They probably just got lazy. They go, I wrote the script, it's done. I got to do a log line too. So they probably got lazy, and that's probably why I probably haven't read so many people's scripts. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, no, I wanted to give an illustration of that because this is the bane of my existence. Brilliant writers who waffle on the log line. The bane of my existence. I found out after the script had already been removed from Inktip that there was a script on Inktip that was picked up. This script comes out May 8th in theaters. I don't want to say the title. I'm not going to claim a credit here because I can't claim it because it wasn't discovered through Inktip. I called up a producer when I saw it in the news and I saw the familiar name of a familiar writer. I called up a producer who had spoken with a writer, and the producer told me this story. And I've heard this story more than once, but this one really hits home right now because the movie is coming out on May 8th in theaters. Boy, I really narrowed it down. It was a really brilliant script. It was a brilliant idea. It was something that's never been done before. It was an original take on something that's familiar to people. People who are fans of that genre are really going to be into it. It has A-list actors. It was brilliant writing, brilliant story. The producers were brilliant. The director is incredibly skilled and talented. I'm so looking forward to seeing this movie. The producer, because I never saw the logline, he described it this way. He said, it wasn't a logline, it was a tagline.
Oh.
And I went ahead and read the script because I was bored. And I went back and I looked through the history, and I found out that the script had hardly ever been downloaded because producers would see the logline when they were searching. And it wasn't a logline. It was a tagline.
It was a tagline.
The favorite example that I give, I used this in an article one time, is they came for the adventure. They stayed for lunch. That sounds like something you'd see on a movie, like on a poster, but you need a visual representation with a tagline like that. I mean, that could be about a vacation through wine country. That could be about spelunking in a cave full of vampires. I mean, that could be about anything. We don't know what the story's about. And that's what you were saying when you said you'd look at it, and if you didn't know what the story was about, you'd move on to the next one.
Right, because it was a tagline. Right, so guys, don't do taglines, do log lines. If you want to get your script possibly requested, you gotta do solid log lines. Like it will make or break you. And that's why this broadcast is so important to screenwriters, future screenwriters, people who have screenplays. This is how it's done every day in Hollywood. That's why this is called the inside truth, because we give it to you raw, we give it to you real. I'm gonna wind down, guys. Don't fret. I know you guys are using your data plans. Don't worry. So basically, I want to surmise all that you've said, because you've said a lot of good stuff. So as a screenwriter who's written a script, my next job is to do the log line. So I'm not even ready to shop my script until I have a solid log line and synopsis. Is that what you're saying? Okay, so when I have those two things, then what's the next step? You guys?
Yeah, come to Inktip. Actually, let's step back a little bit, because as far as the solid logline goes, and I'm very proud of this, I spent a lot of time working on this. I developed the system. I turned it over to the programmers and marketing department at Inktip a number of years ago. And after a lot of research and development and testing, they launched this, and it's a free service on Inktip, and it's free for writers. And you don't have to be a client. A client is somebody who pays $65 to list a script on Inktip. Okay, which is, you get more exposure that way if you write a good logline than you'll get if you spend the same amount of money on contests and festivals. And I mean, you'll be seen by a lot of people, and this is why we're averaging 4 or more options per week. But the beauty of this service is you don't need to be a client. You don't need to pay. You don't need to pony up a penny. We put it up there for everybody. It's called the Logline Lab. And what we did was, after all of this research, I came up with a system, and then I turned it over to some people who could actually make it work, who were smarter than me. Mike and Kim at Inktip, or excuse me, Mike and Liz, Mike, Kim, and Liz in marketing department. And they developed this system where you can go in, and it'll ask you a series of questions. and you just enter the answers to your questions. And it starts out with the focus of the story so that you can write a log line that is either story-driven or character-driven. And then it takes you to another page, and it just returns your answers to you in an order. And it's all unedited, and it's grammatically awful, and you have to fix it. But you get the basic kernel of a log line from that.
Ah, that's cool. That's a free app you got, or free whatever you have on your site.
Oh yeah, go to Inktip, look for the Logline Lab, use it, write a log line, copy and paste it into your Word document, rewrite it on your own, and then send it off to other people. You don't have to use Inktip. It's there for you. I don't care who you are. Everybody can use it. What I recommend is use it twice. Use it both ways so that you write a story-driven and a character-driven log line, and test both. Send out your query letters or put it on your listing on the site on Inktip and see which one gets you viewings. And then after a while, swap it out. Try another one. Every time you swap out your logline on Inktip, like after a certain amount of time, if you polish or change or rewrite your synopsis, it'll actually bump your listing up higher in the results, the search results. Little insight, Inktip's right there. Okay. So, you do that, and let's say you put it up for 6 weeks, and you've got a character-driven log line, and a bunch of people look at it, and then you put it up again with the story-driven log line, and a bunch of people don't look at it, then you know which one works for your story. And you can just sort of do a little trial and error, and you can use it over and over again and write as many as you want.
Wow, that's yeah. I never knew about that feature you guys had. That's a very cool feature. Well, look, we're gonna wrap it up right now, guys. Can you give my viewers, like I always try and give my viewers at the end of my shows, I try to give them, those of you who've joined late, don't worry, I'm going to upload this for replay. Thank you for the hearts. And whoever's giving the hearts is probably going to win the prize, FYI, so stay up. They came and they left. Whoever that was, they came and they left. But look, I'll get back to what I was saying. I like to give my viewers one piece of solid, real advice from my guests to help them, pursue their dreams effectively. So can you give screenwriters something, a really good nugget of something, please?
Unfortunately, I can't. The best nugget I can give you, this is what every screenwriter needs to know. And this is not a nugget. This is a lump of coal. This is a horrible, horrible reality. You're going to have to write a lot. And that's the secret to success. The first-time writer with a great idea and a great script will come up with an execution that might get, and I've seen this happen, first-time writers, they get option. Producers pick them up, give them notes, and then all of a sudden these writers think that they were brilliant. Well, they were brilliant, they were lucky, they had a good idea, and they were patient, and they worked well with others. And the course, the process of going through the course of the rewrite with a producer, they rewrite the script 3 or 4 times. It's like writing 3 or 4 scripts. You have to write 3 or 4 scripts, and you either get lucky and you do it with somebody who discovers you and can shepherd your project to the cameras, or you write one and then you rewrite it, and you write another and you rewrite it, and you go back and rewrite the first one, and eventually you're going to come up with a stack of scripts that is a foot or high or higher, a foot tall or higher, and that's when you're going to be good. And it really actually takes that much work and that much investment. I've seen people come out of USC, UCLA, NYU.
Hi, Jason.
Yeah, they were that good because they went through that process as part of their education, and they wrote that many scripts. There are a lot of self-taught writers out there who get discovered and actually become very good and very successful. But the trick is the self-taught writers who understand that they have to write and write and write and write and write are the ones that become successful and quit their day jobs and make livings as writers.
So your tip is basically hard work.
Well, if you like writing, it's not that hard. You're enjoying it.
Got you. Wow.
Write. That's my tip, is write.
Wow. That's awesome. Let me change the camera to my. Those of you who are out there who've been watching, thank you so much. Like, dude, you give a lot. Those who missed us, don't worry, I'm going to upload it because he gave some key information. Someone asked tips for writer's block.
Oh, tips for writer's block. Get out, walk around, go and shake yourself up, talk with other people. Comfortable and awkward situation. writer's block usually happens because you're getting stuck on the page. You get stuck on the page, and it snowballs. You think of how to write the line, and then you think of another way to write it before you write down the first one. And then you start getting in this snowball process of overthinking it and underwriting it. And then eventually it turns into full-on writer's block, and you don't even know where you're going with the story next. So what you need to do is shake it up. And it's 2 steps. It's go out, do something to shake it up. Smack yourself in the face.
He says exercise is what he does. Jason, who just commented, says he does exercise to help him with the writer's block.
That's good. That's a good one, yeah. And then get back on the page, and the first thing that comes to mind, write it down, and don't think about it. Just write it. And once you get rolling again, you're past it.
Awesome, awesome. Is there... Let me change the camera. There we go. Oh, hey, Jason, stay on this, Jason, because... Jason, do you have a screenplay that you've written? I'm curious. Do you have a screenplay? Are you writing a screenplay right now? Sorry, I lost connection for a second. No worries, no worries. I was asking you, do you have a screenplay, or are you writing one right now, out of curiosity? No, only comedy. This guy doesn't write, he's a comedy, he's a comedian. He writes comedy. So he's not okay. Well, because I'm having a contest, and I think most of my viewers are on the web who don't have the app, and you can't engage, and you're probably going crazy right now, like, oh my God, I want to win that. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my email address. I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to give my email address. And if you guys are watching on the web and you could not, get the app, guys. If you got the... If you're watching right now and you can't comment, I'm going to give you my email address right now. And for some reason, well, I'm going to have to, my email, guys, I'm going to have to say it to you. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper, and then you guys can take a screenshot if you'd like. Thank you for holding on, Jared. I appreciate it. One justice for all at Gmail. I'm going to do a screenshot for you guys right now watching. You guys got it? That is my email address. If you guys are watching on the web, want to have access to Jared, you need help, because basically, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. The first 2 people who email me, they're going to get the prize. They're going to get their script and Ink Tips newsletter to thousands of people, and someone's going to get Jared to give you one-on-one consultation to write and polish your log line so that you increase the odds of getting it requested when you send out query letters to producers and whatnot. Guys, this is a big deal. I know you guys are still learning Periscope. I get it, and you're probably shocked. But I only bring you guys good content, good stuff. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to sign off. Let me make sure I've said everything I had to say before I let you guys go. Thanks for tuning in. Those who are there and you're not following me, please. I'm at One Justice, the number 4 all. That's me on Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, you name it. That is me. Tomorrow, next week's shows, I got some big hitters. I got some film financiers. I've got Dick Clark producers, EVPs. I've got, well, I won't even say, but I got I've got a writer from, I'll give you a clue, the biggest TV show on the planet right now. I've got that writer. Next week, I'm going to interview him. It's going to be off the hook. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the heart, Jason. Much appreciated. Much love. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same as always. Peace.